Close your eyes, turn off the light. Let the world fade for a moment. Tonight, I'll take you back to 2022, to a quiet office where love grew in whispers no one could hear. The office smelled of old coffee and printer ink. A small creative agency on the third floor of a building that had seen better decades. 6 desks arranged in an open floor plan that tried to feel modern, but mostly just felt exposed. 2 worn couches near the window, their cushions holding the shape of 1,000 lunch breaks. A kitchenette with mismatched mugs and a coffee maker that groaned like it had feelings. And that window, tall, slightly smudged, looking out onto a street where taxis passed like yellow ghosts in the rain. It was the kind of place people ended up at rather than chose. A way station, a holding pattern. The work was good enough, the people were fine. No one stayed late because they loved it. They stayed late because going home felt harder. Her name was Maya Reyes. She worked in the corner by the window, always with her headphones on, always with that slight furrow between her brows when she was deep in thought. 29 years old, dark hair that she wore pulled back in a bun that was never quite neat by the end of the day. Glasses she'd push up her nose when she was concentrating. She designed book covers, gave stories their first face, their first chance to be seen in a crowded world. She was good at it. Quietly, undeniably good, introspective. That's what her performance reviews always said, like it was a polite way of saying she didn't talk much. Quiet in the way that people who think too much often are. She had moved to the city 2 years before the world stopped, chasing some vague dream of becoming someone different from who she'd been in her small hometown. And then the pandemic hit and everyone stayed inside. And when the world finally started again in 2022, she realized she'd forgotten how to let people in. Or maybe she'd never known how in the first place. His name was Daniel Cross, 32. He wrote copy, the kind that made you feel something even when you were just buying soap or insurance or shoes you didn't need. He sat 3 desks away from Maya near the kitchenette, where the afternoon light came in warm and golden, turning everything soft at the edges. Sandy hair that curled slightly when it got too long, which was most of the time. A face that looked boyish until you noticed the tiredness around his eyes. Kind, careful, type who remembered how you took your tea but never made a show of it. Who asked how your weekend was and actually listened to the answer. Who stayed late to help someone else finish a project, even when he had his own deadlines. He'd been through something. You could see it in the way he smiled with his mouth, but not always his eyes. A divorce that had ended just before the pandemic. A quiet unraveling he'd never really talked about, not even when people asked. He'd simply said it hadn't worked out and then changed the subject, and eventually people stopped asking. They had both learned to be alone. But then, slowly, like dawn coming to a winter morning, something shifted. It started in the spaces between words. A Tuesday morning meeting in early September. The creative director, Marcus, mid-40s, always talking with his hands, was presenting a new campaign for an organic tea company. He'd been going on for 20 minutes about authentic wellness narratives and mindful brand positioning, and his enthusiasm was genuine but exhausting. Daniel glanced up from his notebook, where he'd been doodling more than taking notes, and Maya was already looking at him, just for a second, a flicker of recognition. A shared thought about something absurd Marcus had just said, something about the zen of chamomile, and in that glance was a tiny, silent laugh. She looked away first, but her mouth twitched at the corner. He smiled into his coffee, felt something warm in his chest. It was nothing, just a moment. But he thought about it for the rest of the day. The hum of computers, the soft clack of Maya's keyboard. She typed fast, barely looking at the keys. The way the light changed as clouds moved across the autumn sky, painting the office in different shades of gray and gold. Another day, maybe a week later, Maya walked past Daniel's desk on the way to the printer. He was stuck on a sentence, staring at his screen like it had personally wronged him. His cursor blinked accusingly. He'd been trying to write copy for a furniture company, something about comfort meeting style, and every word felt wooden and false. Without a word, Maya set a cup of tea beside his mouse. Earl Grey, 2 sugars, exactly how he liked it. He looked up, startled, but she was already walking away, headphones back on, face unreadable. "Thank you," he said, but she probably didn't hear him. She did. She'd noticed weeks ago that he always made Earl Grey in the afternoon. 2 sugars, no milk. She'd noticed the way he'd cradle the mug in both hands, like he was trying to absorb its warmth. She'd noticed because she noticed everything, filed it all away in the quiet corners of her mind, where she kept all the things she didn't know what to do with. At her desk, she opened her design software and tried to focus, but her heart was beating just a little faster than it should have been. The office had 6 people. Marcus, the creative director, Sarah, the account manager, bright, chatty, always trying to organize happy hours no one really wanted to attend. James and Priya, the junior designers who sat together and shared earbuds during lunch, and then Maya and Daniel, the odd ones out, the quiet ones. They'd worked there for about the same amount of time, both hired in the strange, uncertain months of early 2021 when the office was reopening and everyone was trying to pretend things were normal again. They'd been introduced the same day, had nodded politely at each other, and then retreated to their separate corners. For months, they'd barely spoken beyond pleasantries. But something changed that September. Some invisible thread pulled taut between them. October arrived with cold rain and earlier darkness. The leaves in the park across the street turned copper and gold. The office grew colder. Someone, Sarah, probably, brought in a space heater that made a low, comforting hum in the corner. Maya started arriving early. She'd always been an early riser, but now she came in at 7, sometimes earlier, when the office was still dark and quiet in hers. She liked the peace of the empty space, the way the city was still half asleep outside her window. She'd make green tea in the kitchenette, watch the sunrise paint the buildings pink, and feel something like contentment. But then Daniel started arriving early too. Not every day, just sometimes. Tuesdays and Thursdays, usually. He'd slip in quietly, make coffee in the kitchenette, and the smell would reach her. Desk, rich and dark and grounding. And she'd feel something ease in her chest, though she couldn't have said what it was. He never interrupted her, just nodded when she glanced his way, took his coffee to his desk. Let the silence sit between them like a third person they both trusted. She found herself looking forward to those mornings, the ones when his car was already in the lot when she arrived, the ones when she'd hear the coffee maker start up and she'd know she wasn't alone. They began to orbit each other, small things, tiny adjustments in their routines that brought them into each other's paths. Maya started taking her lunch break at the same time Daniel did. Not obviously, not in a way anyone else would notice. But if he stood up at 1 o'clock and headed for the door, she'd finish her sentence, save her file, and follow a few minutes later. They'd end up at the same sandwich shop 2 blocks away. She'd order the same thing every time: turkey on wheat, no cheese, extra vegetables. He'd get chicken salad on sourdough. They'd stand in line, not together but near each other, and sometimes they'd nod. Sometimes he'd hold the door for her on the way out. Once, it was raining and she didn't have an umbrella. He did. Large and black and a little battered. Want to share? He asked, the first full sentence he'd said to her in weeks. Her heart jumped. I'm okay. It's just a couple blocks. You'll be soaked. She hesitated, nodded. They walked back to the office together, shoulders almost touching under the umbrella's canopy. The rain drummed overhead. She could smell his cologne, something subtle, woodsy, and she focused on breathing normally. Thanks, she said when they reached the building. Anytime. He smiled at her, and it reached his eyes this time, and she felt something crack open in her chest. Their lives outside that office were careful things, fragile. Maya lived alone in a studio apartment in a neighborhood that was trying to be trendy, but mostly just felt lonely. Too many plants crowding the windowsill, trying to survive on not enough sunlight. A bed that was never quite made. Bookshelves overflowing with novels she'd read and reread until the spines cracked. A small desk where she sometimes worked on personal projects. Illustrated cards, posters, things no one ever saw. She video called her sister Rosa every Sunday at noon. Rosa lived in their hometown 3 hours away, married with 2 kids and a life that looked perfect in photographs. Rosa would ask how the city was, how work was, if Maya was seeing anyone. And Maya would say fine, good, no. And Rosa would get that look, the pitying, worried look, and Maya would make an excuse to hang up. She hadn't dated since moving to the city. Hadn't wanted to. The pandemic had made it easy to hide. Everyone was isolated, everyone was alone, and her loneliness didn't feel unusual. It felt appropriate, safe, but now it was 2022, and the world had opened back up, and everyone was supposed to be okay again. People were going to bars, to restaurants, to parties. They were downloading dating apps and going on awkward first dates and figuring out how to touch each other again. Mia couldn't. She tried once. A date arranged by Sarah, who meant well but didn't understand. A nice man, a friend of a friend, drinks at a wine bar. He talked a lot about his job in finance, and she'd nodded and smiled and felt absolutely nothing. When he texted the next day, she'd said she wasn't ready for something serious. He'd been understanding. She'd blocked his number anyway. The truth was, she didn't know what she was ready for. She just knew that the only time she felt anything close to alive was in those quiet mornings at the office, when she'd smell coffee brewing and know that Daniel was there. Daniel's life was different, but the same. He lived in a 1-bedroom apartment that still had boxes he hadn't unpacked. Furniture his ex-wife had let him keep, the couch she'd never liked, the dining table that was too big for one person, photographs he'd taken down but couldn't throw away, sitting in a drawer somewhere. He had a daughter, Emma, 7 years old. Bright and funny in his entire world for the 2 weekends a month he got to see her. He'd pick her up Friday evening, and she'd chatter the whole drive to his apartment, telling him about school, about her friends, about the chapter book she was reading. He'd make her dinner, usually pasta, because that was what she'd eat, and they'd watch a movie. He'd read to her until she fell asleep in his bed, Her small hand curled around his thumb. And then he'd sit in his car outside his ex-wife's house for 20 minutes on Sunday evening after dropping Emma off, not ready to go back to his own silence. His ex-wife, Jennifer, had remarried, a nice guy, a dentist. They had a house in the suburbs with a yard and a golden retriever. Emma seemed happy. That was what mattered, Daniel told himself. That was all that mattered. But the weekends without Emma were endless. 48 hours that stretched like taffy. He'd go for runs. He'd read. He'd try to write, not copy for work, but real writing. The novel he'd always told himself he'd finish someday. He'd manage a few pages, read them over, delete them all. His friends had tried to set him up. Well-meaning coworkers and college buddies who couldn't stand to see him alone. He'd gone on 2 dates, both nice women, both perfectly fine. One was a teacher, laughed easily, had kind eyes. The other was a graphic designer, sharp and funny and probably too good for him. Both wrong. He couldn't explain it. They'd talk, and he'd listen, and he'd think about Maya. About the way she bit her lip when she was concentrating. About the small sound she made when she was frustrated with a design, a tiny exhale that was almost a sigh. About the grace of her hands when she moved her mouse, precise and sure. He'd go home from those dates and feel like he'd betrayed something, though he couldn't say what. November came with frost on the windows and darkness that fell before 5 o'clock. The office took on a different quality in the winter. The space heater glowed orange in the corner. People brought in blankets to drape over their chairs. The coffee maker worked overtime, and the kitchen always smelled like someone's microwave lunch. Maya and Daniel had developed a language that no one else could see. In meetings, they'd catch each other's eyes. A glance that meant this is taking too long, or did he really just say that? Or simply, I see you, I'm here too. Sarah talked endlessly about engagement metrics. Marcus got passionate about color theory. James and Priya whispered to each other. And across the table, Maya and Daniel had entire conversations in silence. Once, Marcus asked Maya to present a book cover concept for a literary thriller. She pulled it up on the screen, dark, moody, a silhouette against a crimson sky. She explained her choices, her voice quiet but confident. It's meant to feel isolated, she said. Like the character is alone, even in a crowded world. Daniel watched her face as she spoke. The way her hands moved slightly when she talked about her work. The passion that came through even in her measured tone. She glanced at him mid-sentence just for a second and he nodded slightly. That's perfect, his look said. Her shoulders relaxed just a little. After the meeting, he caught up with her in the hallway. That concept was really strong. She looked surprised. You think so? Absolutely. The way you captured that feeling of isolation, it's exactly right. She smiled, and it was the first real smile he'd seen from her. Not polite, not small, real. Thank you. That means a lot. I mean it. They stood there for a moment too long. Someone walked past, broke the spell. Maya looked down. I should get back to work. Yeah, me too. But neither of them moved immediately. The small moments accumulated like snow, gentle and barely noticeable until suddenly there was a drift, something you couldn't ignore. Daniel started bringing an extra coffee in the mornings when he went to the good coffee shop 3 blocks away. He'd set it on Maya's desk without a word. She never asked him to. He just did it. And she'd look up, surprised every time, and mouth, thank you. And he'd nod and walk away before it could become more than that. Maya started leaving post-it notes on Daniel's desk when he was struggling with a project. Just small things. "You've got this," in her neat handwriting. Or "Take a break," with a tiny doodle of a coffee cup. Once, when he was stressed about a difficult client, she left one that said, "They're lucky to have you," and he kept it in his wallet, though he didn't know why. They'd work late together now, not by arrangement, but by unspoken agreement. The others would leave at 5 or 5:30, and Maya and Daniel would stay, sometimes until 7, sometimes later. They didn't talk much during those evenings. She'd have her headphones in. He'd have his head down typing, but there was something about the shared space, the knowledge that they were both there, choosing to stay. The office felt different at night, softer, more honest. Sometimes she'd stand up to stretch, walk to the window, stare out at the city. The lights flickering on building by building, the traffic flowing like a river below. She'd wrap her arms around herself, and he'd watch her silhouette against the glass and feel his heart do something complicated. Once, late on a Thursday, she stretched and stood, walking to the window. The city sparkled below, cold and distant. Daniel looked up from his work, watched her. She had her arms wrapped around herself, and there was something in her posture, something lonely and beautiful and aching, that made his breath catch. He almost said something. "Are you okay?" Or "It's getting late," or "I think about you constantly and I don't know what to do about it." He didn't. She turned, caught him looking, held his gaze for 3 heartbeats, 4, 5, then smiled, small, uncertain, real, and went back to her desk. His hands were shaking when he tried to type again. December came with holiday lights strung between street lamps and a cold that cut through your coat. The office transformed, though not everyone was enthusiastic about it. Sarah decorated with an energy that bordered on manic tinsel on the cubicle walls. A small artificial tree in the corner, candy canes in a bowl by the coffee maker. Marcus encouraged it. "Holiday spirit is good for morale," he said, as if morale was something you could manufacture with decorations. Maya found it overwhelming. Too bright, too cheerful, too much pressure to feel festive. She'd grown up with warm Christmases, her mother cooking tamales, the house full of cousins and noise. But here, alone in the city, the holidays just felt like a spotlight on everything she didn't have. Daniel wasn't much better. His first Christmas after the divorce had been hard. The second had been worse because he was supposed to be over it by then. This would be the third, and he'd have Emma for Christmas Eve, but not Christmas morning, and the thought of waking up alone on Christmas Day made him want to skip the whole month. But there was the office party to get through first. They held it on a Friday evening in mid-December. Everyone was required to attend, though. Required was delivered with a smile and a "come on, it'll be fun." Sarah brought wine. Marcus brought beer. Someone ordered pizza. Priya created a Spotify playlist that was aggressively upbeat. Maya stood near the window, nursing a glass of wine she hadn't really touched. She tried to get into it, she really had. She'd smiled and laughed in the right places and complimented Sarah's ugly Christmas sweater. But her face hurt from fake smiling, and all she wanted was to go home. Daniel found himself beside her without quite meaning to. "You okay?" he asked, voice low enough that only she could hear. She glanced at him, surprised. "Yeah, just ... Not really my thing." "Mine either." They stood together, watching the others laugh. James was telling some story with big gestures. Priya was showing Sarah something on her phone. Marcus was doing his best to be the fun boss, which meant he was being slightly awkward. The distance between Maya and Daniel was smaller than it had ever been. Close enough that she could see the flecks of green in his blue eyes. Close enough that if she shifted her weight, their shoulders would touch. "Do you ever feel?" She started, then stopped. Shook her head. "Never mind." "What?" "It's stupid. Try me." She looked at him then, really looked, at the kindness in his face, at the way he was leaning toward her slightly, like she was something precious he didn't want to miss. "Do you ever feel like you're waiting for something, but you don't know what it is?" Daniel's breath caught. The noise of the party faded to static. "Yeah," he said quietly. "All the time." Her eyes held his. In that moment, the space between them felt charged with everything they were saying. Every early morning, every shared glance, every careful moment of restraint. "Maya," he started. Then Sarah called her name, bright and oblivious, asking her opinion on something. And the moment fractured like dropped glass. Maya stepped away, and the cold air rushed in where she'd been standing. Daniel finished his beer in one long swallow and thought about leaving, about going home, about how much easier it would be if he didn't feel this way. But when he looked across the room, Maya was looking back. On the last Tuesday before Christmas, the storm came. The weather report had been warning about it all day. A winter storm moving in from the north, bringing heavy rain, possible flooding, winds that could knock out power. Most people left work early, nervous about getting caught in it. But Maya had a project due the next morning, a rush job for a client who changed their mind 3 times and was now desperate. She promised Marcus she'd finish it, so she stayed. Daniel had finished his work by 5. He packed up his laptop, put on his coat, looked over at Maya still hunched over her desk, the blue light from her screen painting her face in shadows. He should go. The trains might stop running. The roads would be bad. He should go home, be sensible, be smart. Instead, he took off his coat, sat back down at his desk, opened his laptop again. "You should go," Maya said at 6 o'clock, not looking up from her screen. "The trains might stop running. So should you. I'm almost done. So am I." It was a lie. He had nothing urgent. But he couldn't make himself leave. By 6:30, the rain started. Soft at first, then harder. By 7, it was hammering against the window, turning the city into a watercolor blur. The wind picked up, making the old building creak. The lights flickered once, and Maya gasped quietly. "We're fine," Daniel said from across the room. "Old building, strong bones." She nodded, tried to focus on her work. The lights flickered again, twice, then held. The power didn't go out, but something about the storm made the office feel smaller, more intimate, like they were in a ship together, riding out rough seas. Thunder rolled somewhere distant. The space heater hummed. The only light came from their desk lamps and the glow of their screens. At 7:30, Maya finally saved her file, leaned back, wrapped her eyes behind her glasses. "Okay, done." Daniel looked up. "Yeah, me too." Neither of them moved. The rain was softer now, steady. The city outside blurred into watercolor, all bleeding lights and dark shapes. "I should go," she said. "Yeah." Still they didn't move. Maya stood slowly, like her body was heavier than usual. She gathered her things, laptop, notebook, the scarf she'd draped over her chair, pulled on her coat, buttoned it with careful fingers. Daniel did the same. watched her from the corner of his eye. His heart was doing something strange in his chest, beating too hard, too fast. They walked to the door together. She reached for the light switch. The office fell into shadow, lit only by the streetlights filtering through the rain-streaked window. Everything looked softer this way, gentler, like something from a dream. They stood in the doorway, so close. The space between them measured in inches and impossible things. She could smell his cologne again, could see the way his throat moved when he swallowed, could feel the warmth radiating from him in the cold hallway. Daniel, Maya, they spoke at the same time, stopped, laughed, nervous, brief, more breath than sound. "You first," he said. She looked at him, really looked. At the kindness in his face that she'd been seeing for months. At the loneliness he carried like a weight, the same weight she carried. At the way he'd made her mornings bearable, her evenings less empty, just by being there. Just by existing in the same space as her. "I don't know what I was going to say," she whispered. It wasn't entirely true. She knew. She'd known for weeks, maybe months, but saying it out loud would change everything. And change was terrifying. And what if she was wrong? What if this was all in her head? But he knew. He saw it in the way her eyes softened, the way she didn't step back, the way her hand was trembling slightly as she held her bag. "Me neither," he said. His voice was rough, but I think we both know." The rain fell. The city breathed. They stood in the doorway of a small office on the 3rd floor, and between them hung all the words they'd never said, all the careful distance they'd kept, all the longing they'd disguised as silence, all the mornings he'd brought her coffee, all the afternoons she'd left him notes, all the late evenings they'd stayed together without quite admitting that's what they were doing. All of it shimmered in the air between them like something visible. Maya reached out, hesitated, then let her fingers brush his. Just that, just a touch that lasted 2 seconds and meant everything. His hand was warm, solid, real. "Good night, Daniel." "Good night, Maya." They stepped into the hallway. The door closed behind them with a soft click. They walked to the elevator together, stood shoulder to shoulder as it descended. The old elevator was slow, groaning, and every floor felt like a lifetime. Neither of them spoke. At the ground floor, they stepped out into the lobby. The security guard, an older man named Tom, who was always kind, nodded at them. "Rough night to be out." "Yeah," Daniel said. "Be safe. You too." Outside, the rain had softened to a drizzle. The street was slick and shining. Maya's apartment was west, toward the subway. Daniel's car was in the parking garage, east. They stood under the building's small awning. "Be careful getting home," he said. "You too." She started to turn away, stopped, looked back. He was already watching her. And in that look was a promise. A maybe, a not yet, but soon. She smiled. Small and uncertain and filled with hope. Then she walked away into the rain, and he watched until she turned the corner and disappeared. Daniel sat in his car for 10 minutes before starting the engine. His hand still tingled where she'd touched it. His heart was still racing. He drove home through the rain, and the whole world felt different, sharper, more alive. Like he'd been seeing everything in black and white, and suddenly there was color. Maya rode the subway home, and even though it was late and she was tired and the train was nearly empty, she couldn't stop smiling. She looked at her reflection in the dark window and almost didn't recognize herself. She looked like someone who had something to look forward to. The office was closed the next day for the holiday break. Christmas week. Everyone scattered to their own lives, their own families, their own traditions or lack thereof. Maya went home to visit Rosa. She sat at her sister's dinner table, played with her niece and nephew, helped cook tamales like their mother used to make. And when Rosa asked if she was seeing anyone, Maya hesitated. Maybe, she said. Rosa's eyes went wide. Tell me everything. There's nothing to tell yet, just ... maybe. But she smiled when she said it, and Rosa saw and squeezed her hand across the table. Daniel had Emma for Christmas Eve. They made cookies and got frosting everywhere. They watched the Muppet Christmas Carol because it was her favorite. He read her the Polar Express before bed, doing all the voices, making her giggle. When she fell asleep, he sat in the living room and thought about Maya, wondered what she was doing. If she was thinking about him too, if the touch of her fingers against his had felt as monumental to her as it had to him. His phone was in his hand before he'd fully decided. He opened a new message, typed, "Hope you're having a good holiday." Too casual. He deleted it. Merry Christmas. Too formal. I can't stop thinking about you. Too much. He set the phone down, picked it up again, finally just typed, "Thank you for the year. See you next week." He stared at it for 5 minutes before hitting send. Maya was in her childhood bedroom when her phone buzzed. She read the message 3 times, smiled, typed back, "See you next week. Stay warm." She held her phone to her chest and felt like a teenager again. Like the world was full of possibility. The office reopened on January 2nd, 2023. Maya arrived early, like always. 7 in the morning, the sky still dark, her breath fogging in the cold air. She took the stairs instead of the elevator, needed to burn off the nervous energy. When she reached the 3rd floor, the lights were already on. Daniel was there. He looked up when the door opened and his whole face changed, softened, brightened. "Hey," he said. "Hey." They stood there 10 feet apart, and the air between them crackled with everything they hadn't said over the holiday break. "Good Christmas?" she asked. "Yeah, you." "Yeah," silence. But not uncomfortable, charged, waiting. "I made coffee," he said. "The good kind. Want some?" She smiled. "I'd love some." They stood in the kitchenette together, shoulder to shoulder, while the coffee maker gurgled and hissed. The sun started to rise outside the window, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The new year spreading out before them like an unwritten page. "Maya," he said quietly, "I've been thinking about what I wanted to say before the break." Her heart was pounding. "Yeah." "Yeah," he turned to face her. "I don't know exactly when it happened. Probably gradually. Probably weeks ago. Maybe months. But he stopped, started again. "I really like spending time with you. I like the mornings when you're here. I like the way you think. I like you." The words hung in the air between them. Maya's hands were shaking. She set down her coffee mug before she could drop it. "I like you too," she whispered. "I have for a while. I didn't know how to say it." "You don't have to say it. I already knew." "How?" He smiled. "The way you look at me sometimes. The way you leave me those notes. The way you touched my hand that night in the rain." She laughed, nervous and relieved. "I wasn't sure if you felt the same way." "I do." He stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back slightly to meet his eyes. "I really, really do. "So what do we do about it?" she asked. "I don't know. Date? Like normal people?" "I don't think I remember how to do that." "Me either." "We'll figure it out." The coffee maker beeped. Neither of them moved. He started, then stopped. "Can I take you to dinner?" "A real dinner, not the sandwich shop." "Somewhere nice. I'd like that. Friday?" Friday. They stood there, grinning at each other like idiots until they heard footsteps in the hallway. Sarah arriving, cheerful and loud, calling out good mornings. Maya and Daniel stepped apart quickly, suddenly teenagers caught doing something forbidden. But they looked at each other, and the promise was still there. Friday, dinner, a beginning. And maybe love doesn't always need words. Sometimes it just needs silence, the kind that feels like coming home. But sometimes love needs words too. Needs the risk of saying I like you and I've been thinking about you and would you like to try this with me? Maya and Daniel went to dinner that Friday. A small Italian place with candles on the tables and wine that was probably too expensive but tasted perfect anyway. They talked for hours about their families, their childhoods, their fears and hopes, and all the small things they'd never had a reason to share before. "I was scared," Maya admitted over dessert, "that if I said something, you wouldn't feel the same way. And then it would be awkward and I'd lose the best part of my day." "The early mornings?" "Yeah, those." He reached across the table, took her hand. "You wouldn't have lost them, but I was scared too. Of the same thing. So we just spent months being scared together." Apparently, they laughed and it felt easy, natural, right? He walked her home that night. They stood outside her building, and the streetlights made everything glow soft and golden. She looked up at him, and he looked down at her, and the distance between them was smaller than it had ever been. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. "I wish you would." He did, slow and sweet and certain. Her hands found his coat, pulling him closer. His hand cradled the back of her head, gentle. The world fell away. The cold, the city, the fear. Just them, just this. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. "See you Monday?" he said. "See you Monday." But they also saw each other Sunday, when he texted and asked if she wanted to get coffee. And Saturday, when she called and asked if he wanted to walk through the park, even though it was freezing. They saw each other every day that first week. Not at the office. They kept that professional, kept their secret close for a while longer, but after. Dinners and walks and movies and long conversations that stretched past midnight. It was new and terrifying and wonderful. January unfolded slowly, gently. The city was gray and cold, but Maya barely noticed. Everything felt warmer now. They learned each other in layers. She learned that Daniel was a morning person who became useless after 10 p.m., that he loved old movies, black and white films from the 40s and 50s, and could quote entire scenes from Casablanca, that he was terrible at cooking but made excellent breakfast, scrambled eggs that were somehow fluffy and perfect, toast with just the right amount of butter. She learned about Emma in careful increments. Daniel would mention her casually at first. "My daughter loves that book," or Emma would think that's hilarious. And Maya would listen, see the way his whole face changed when he talked about her. The love there was so pure it made her chest ache. "Does she know about me?" Maya asked one evening. They were at his apartment, curled up on his couch watching it happen one night. Daniel paused the movie. "Not yet. I wanted to make sure this was ... real before I introduced her to someone." I don't want her getting attached if I'm going to leave. If we're going to end, Maya took his hand. I'm not planning to leave. I'm not planning to let you. They kissed, and the movie stayed paused for a long time. Daniel learned that Maya was a night person who came alive after dark, that she listened to instrumental music when she worked because lyrics were too distracting, that she wanted to be an artist as a kid, but had convinced herself she wasn't good enough. So she'd found design instead, a way to make art that felt safer, more practical. He learned that she was scared of vulnerability, that she'd been hurt before, though she didn't give details at first, that she had a tendency to retreat when things felt too intense, to pull back and protect herself. I do this thing, she told him one night. They were at a diner at midnight, sharing French fries and coffee, where I sabotage things before they can hurt me. I've done it with jobs, with friendships, with relationships. I get scared that I'm not enough, so I leave first. Are you planning to do that with us? She looked at him for a long moment. I'm trying not to. What helps? You being honest with me. Even when it's hard, I can do that. Promise? Promise. They kept their relationship quiet at work for the first few weeks. Not because they were ashamed, but because it felt precious, private. Something they wanted to protect for a little while longer, but people noticed anyway. Sarah cornered Maya in the bathroom one Thursday in late January. So, she said, applying lipstick in the mirror, you and Daniel. Maya's heart jumped. What about us? Oh, come on. You two have been making eyes at each other for months. And now you're both coming in together, leaving together. You think we don't notice? Maya felt her face heat. Is it that obvious? Sarah grinned. Honey, it's been obvious since September. We've been waiting for you two to figure it out. Does Marcus know? Marcus knows. He's just pretending he doesn't because there's no official policy against it, and he doesn't want to make it awkward. Sarah turned to face her. For what it's worth, I think it's sweet. Daniel's a good guy. You both deserve to be happy. Thanks, Maya said quietly. Just don't break up and make it weird for everyone else, okay? Maya laughed. I'll do my best. February came with unexpected snow. The city transformed overnight, white and clean and magical. Daniel asked Maya if she wanted to meet Emma. They were at his apartment, watching the snowfall outside his window. Maya was wearing his sweatshirt, her feet tucked under her on the couch. He'd been working up the courage all evening. I've been thinking, he said carefully, about you meeting Emma. Maya's heart started racing. Yeah, she'd be here this weekend, Saturday. I usually take her to the Science Museum, and maybe lunch after. If you wanted to come, he stopped. Sorry, that's too much pressure. Forget I said anything. Daniel, it's too soon. We've only been dating for a month. Daniel, she took his face in her hands. I'd love to meet her. He exhaled, and she felt the tension leave his body. Yeah, but I'm terrified. She's 7. You're not terrified of a 7-year-old. I'm terrified of her not liking me. He kissed her forehead. She's going to love you. Saturday morning, Maya spent an hour trying to decide what to wear. Not too formal, not too casual. Something that said I'm responsible, but also fun. She settled on jeans and a sweater, her hair down, minimal makeup. She met them at the museum at 10. Emma was small and bright, with Daniel's eyes and a gap-toothed smile. She wore a purple jacket and light-up sneakers and carried a stuffed dinosaur. Emma, this is my friend Maya, Daniel said. Hi, Emma said shyly. Maya crouched down to her level. "Hi, Emma. Your dad's told me a lot about you." "He says you're really smart." Emma brightened. "I'm good at math. And I know all the planets. All of them, even the dwarf planets. Pluto's not a planet anymore, but it's so cool." "I agree. Pluto deserves respect." Emma giggled, and just like that, they were okay. They spent the day at the museum. Emma dragged them from exhibit to exhibit, explaining facts she'd learned, asking questions Daniel couldn't always answer. Maya found herself charmed by the little girl's enthusiasm, her curiosity, the way she unconsciously reached for Daniel's hand when she got excited. At lunch, Emma asked Maya, "Are you my dad's girlfriend?" Maya glanced at Daniel. They hadn't discussed what to tell her. "I am," Maya said carefully. "Is that okay?" Emma considered this, chewing a French fry. "My mom has a boyfriend. He's okay. But he doesn't know about dinosaurs. That's a serious flaw." "Yeah." Emma looked at Maya seriously. "Do you know about dinosaurs?" "A little bit. But I'd love to learn more. I can teach you. I'd like that." Emma nodded, satisfied, and went back to her mac and cheese. Daniel reached under the table and squeezed Maya's hand. That evening, after Daniel had dropped Emma off, he came to Maya's apartment. She let him in, wrapped her arms around him. "She liked you," he said into her hair. "You think so?" "I know so." "She asked if you could come next time too." Maya pulled back to look at him. "Really?" "Really. She said you were nice and funny and good at playing pretend dinosaurs. High praise from a 7-year-old. The highest." They stood there in her tiny apartment, holding each other, and Maya felt something settle in her chest. Something that felt like belonging. "I'm falling in love with you," she whispered. Daniel pulled back, looked at her with wonder. "I'm already there." They kissed, and it felt like a promise. Like the beginning of something real and lasting and true. Winter melted into spring. The city came alive again. Trees budding, flowers pushing through soil, people shedding their heavy coats and emerging pale and hopeful into the light. Maya and Daniel fell into a rhythm. Mornings at the office, arriving separately but always finding ways to catch each other's eyes. Secret smiles across meetings. Notes left on desks, hers still sweet and encouraging, his now flirtatious, making her blush. Evenings together, switching between apartments. Cooking dinner or ordering in. Watching movies or reading side by side in comfortable silence. Learning the geography of each other's bodies, the landscape of each other's hearts. Weekends with Emma sometimes. The three of them developing their own traditions. Saturday morning pancakes at the diner near Daniel's apartment. Trips to the bookstore where Emma would pick out 3 books and Maya would end up buying her 4. Walks in the park where Emma would run ahead and Daniel and Maya would follow. Hands linked, talking quietly about everything and nothing. It wasn't always easy. Maya had bad days when her anxiety spiked and she withdrew into herself. Needed space Daniel didn't always understand. Daniel had moments of guilt about Jennifer, about feeling happy when his marriage had failed, about worrying he was somehow betraying the life he'd tried to build. They fought sometimes. Small arguments that felt enormous. About whose apartment to stay at, about how much time to spend together, about whether Maya was ready to meet Daniel's parents. She wasn't, not yet. But they learned to talk through it. To be honest, even when it was uncomfortable. To choose each other even when it was hard. One evening in April, Maya's sister came to visit. Rosa wanted to meet this man who had made her sister smile like that, who had somehow broken through walls Rosa had thought were permanent. Daniel was nervous. He cleaned his apartment 3 times. He practiced conversation topics. He asked Maya 17 times what Rosa liked and didn't like. "She's going to love you," Maya said, amused by his anxiety. "Just be yourself." What if myself isn't enough? It's enough for me. The dinner was good. Rosa arrived with wine and stories and a sharp, assessing eye. She watched the way Daniel looked at Maya, the way he listened when she spoke, really listened, like her words were precious. The way he touched the small of her back when they moved around the kitchen. The way Maya leaned into him unconsciously, like a plant turning toward the sun. After dinner, while Daniel was in the kitchen making coffee, Rosa pulled Maya aside. "Okay," she said. "I approve." Maya laughed. "I didn't realize I needed your approval." "You don't, but you have it anyway." Rosa's face softened. "You look happy, really happy." "I haven't seen you like this in years." "Maybe ever." "I am happy." "Good, you deserve it." Rosa hugged her. "Don't screw it up by getting scared and running away." "I'm trying not to. Try harder." May brought warmth and longer days and a conversation Maya had been avoiding. They were at her apartment on a Sunday morning. Daniel was making eggs while Maya sat on the counter, drinking coffee and watching him. She loved this, the domesticity of it, the ease. The way he moved through her space like he belonged there. "I need to tell you something," she said. He looked up, concerned. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I just ... There's something you should know about me, about my past." He turned off the stove, gave her his full attention. "Okay." She took a breath. "I told you I'd been hurt before, in a relationship. I didn't give you details. You don't have to. I want to." She wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. "I was engaged 3 years ago. His name was Chris. We'd been together since college. Everyone thought we were perfect together." Daniel waited, patient. "He cheated on me with my best friend for months, and I didn't know. I had no idea. Everyone else knew, apparently. They all felt bad for me. And when I found out, I just stopped broke. I called off the wedding 2 months before the date. I moved here to start over, to get away from everyone who'd watched me be an idiot, Maya, and I swore I'd never let anyone that close again. I built walls. I kept everyone at a distance. I was fine with being alone. It felt safer." She looked at him. "And then I met you, and you made me want to try again. But I'm still scared, all the time, that I'm going to wake up and find out this isn't real, that you're going to leave, that I'm not enough." Daniel set down the spatula, came to stand in front of her. He took her hands. "I'm not him," he said quietly. "I'm not going to cheat on you. I'm not going to betray you. I'm not perfect, and I'm going to mess up sometimes, but I will never, ever hurt you like that. You can't promise that. I can promise to try. I can promise to be honest. I can promise that when I'm with you, I'm all in. There's no one else I want. No one else I'm thinking about. Just you." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I love you. I love you too. And I'm sorry someone made you feel like you weren't enough, because you are. You're everything." He kissed her, tasting salt and coffee and relief. She wrapped her arms around him and held on tight. June came with heat and humidity and Daniel's own confession. They were at the park with Emma, watching her play on the swings. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and pink. "I need to tell you something," Daniel said. Maya's heart clenched. "Okay, about Jennifer." about why we ended. You don't have to, I want you to know. He watched Emma swing higher, her laugh carrying across the playground. Everyone thinks I'm the good guy, the one who got left, but it's more complicated than that, Maya waited. We weren't happy for a long time, years probably. We stayed together because of Emma, because we'd built a life, because leaving felt like failing. But I checked out emotionally long before the divorce. I was physically there, but mentally absent, and Jennifer felt it. She tried to fix it. She suggested counseling. She asked me to talk to her, to tell her what I needed, and I just couldn't. Daniel, I shut down. I threw myself into work. I became someone she couldn't reach. And eventually, she stopped trying. The divorce was her idea, but it was my fault too. I let her go without fighting for it because I didn't know how to fix what was broken. That doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't make me a good one either. He looked at her. I tell you this because I don't want to make the same mistakes. With you, I want to do it right. I want to show up fully. I want to communicate even when it's hard. I want to fight for us if we need fighting for. Maya took his hand. We all have past versions of ourselves we're not proud of. But you're not that person anymore. I see who you are now. And I love who you are now. I love you too. Emma ran over then, breathless and grinning. Can we get ice cream? Absolutely, Maya said, standing. What flavor? Chocolate with sprinkles. They walked to the ice cream truck, the three of them, and Maya felt a swell of love so strong it almost hurt. This little family they were building. This imperfect, beautiful thing. Summer stretched out long and lazy. The office had flexible hours in July, and everyone took advantage, coming in late or leaving early, stealing extra time for beach trips and barbecues. Maya and Daniel spent a week at a cabin upstate. Just the two of them, no work, no obligations. They hiked and read and made love and talked about the future in careful, hopeful terms. I want you to move in with me, Daniel said one night. They were on the cabin's porch, watching fireflies dance in the darkness. Really? Really, my place is bigger. And I like the idea of you being there when I come home, of falling asleep next to you every night, of building a life together, literally. What about Emma? She asked me last week if you were moving in. She seemed excited about it. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She did? She did. She said she'd help you decorate your room, by which she means she wants to cover everything in unicorn stickers, but still, Maya laughed. I love you, and yes, I want to move in with you. They kissed under the stars, and it felt like crossing a threshold, like stepping fully into a future they were building together. August was moving trucks and cardboard boxes, and the strange, surreal process of combining lives. Maya's plants on Daniel's windowsills, her books on his shelves, her art on his walls, making the space feel less like his and more like theirs. Emma helped as promised. She directed where furniture should go with the confidence of a tiny interior designer. She showed Maya where to find things in the kitchen, explained the quirks of the apartment like she was giving a tour. This is your home now too, Emma said seriously. Thank you, Maya said, her voice thick. That means a lot. You're welcome. Can we have pizza for dinner? Absolutely. September came around again. A year since those first glances across the office. A year of quiet falling, of careful building, of learning to love and be loved. They went back to that sandwich shop on their lunch break, ordered the same things they always did, sat at the same table by the window. A year ago, Daniel said, I had no idea. No idea about what? That my life was about to change. That you were going to become my favorite person. That I'd be this happy. Maya smiled. Me either. I thought I was going to be alone forever. I'd made peace with it. And now I can't imagine my life without you. Without us. He reached across the table, took her hand. Me either. October painted the city in autumn colors again. The cycle completing, returning to where they'd begun, but different now. Changed. Daniel had been carrying the ring for 2 weeks. He'd bought it in September, an antique with a small diamond, delicate and simple, exactly Maya's style. He'd shown it to Emma first, asked her permission. Are you going to marry Maya? She'd asked, eyes wide. I'm going to ask her to marry me, if that's okay with you. Emma had thrown her arms around him. Yes. Can I be a flower girl? Absolutely. He planned it for a random Tuesday. No big production, no elaborate setup. Just them in the space where they'd fallen in love. He got to the office early, even earlier than usual. Set up candles on her desk, a fire hazard, but he'd be careful. Made her favorite tea. Left a note, come find me when you get in. Maya arrived at 7, like always. Saw the lights on, the candles flickering. Her heart started racing. She walked to her desk, found the note. Walked to where Daniel was standing by the window, the place where she'd spent so many evenings, looking out at the city and feeling alone. What's all this? She asked, but she already knew. Could see it in his face. Maya, he said, and his voice was shaking. A year ago, I was going through the motions. I was okay. I convinced myself that okay was enough. And then you came into focus, and everything changed. Tears were already streaming down her face. You made me laugh. You made me hope. You made me believe that I could love again, that I deserved to be loved. You welcomed my daughter like she was yours. You fit into my life like you'd always been there. He got down on one knee. I don't want to spend another day not being yours completely. Will you marry me? Yes, she sobbed. Yes, yes, yes. He slid the ring on her finger, stood. She threw herself into his arms, and they held each other in the quiet office where they'd first fallen in love. In the early morning light, in the space between what they'd been and what they were becoming. I love you, she whispered. I love you too, and maybe love doesn't always need words. Sometimes it just needs silence, the kind that feels like coming home. But sometimes love needs words too. Needs the bravery to say I love you and I'm scared and will you marry me? Needs vulnerability and honesty and the willingness to be seen completely. Maya and Daniel got married the following spring in a small ceremony with family and friends. Emma was the flower girl and took her job very seriously. Rosa cried through the entire ceremony. Marcus gave a surprisingly touching toast about finding love in unexpected places. They honeymooned at another cabin upstate, the same one where he'd asked her to move in. They hiked the same trails, sat on the same porch, watched the same fireflies. But everything was different now. Better, deeper. Years passed. The office changed, Marcus retired, Sarah moved to another company, new people came and went, but Maya and Daniel stayed. They'd met there, fallen in love there, and neither of them wanted to leave that space that held so much of their story. They had more children, a son first, then twin daughters. Their apartment became too small, so they bought a house with a yard where Emma could teach her siblings about dinosaurs and planets, and all the things that mattered. But they never forgot those early mornings, the quiet days of falling, the careful dance of almost. Sometimes, late at night when the kids were asleep, they'd sit together in the silence and remember the first glance, the first touch, the storm that brought them together, the office where love grew in whispers. And they'd hold hands and be grateful for the courage it took to reach across the space between them, to risk being hurt, to choose love even when it was terrifying, because that's what love is in the end. Not the big moments, though those matter too, but the small ones, the everyday choices, the quiet mornings, the shared silences, the decision to show up fully and honestly even when it's hard, the decision to reach out and touch someone's hand and say, without words, I see you, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. Close your eyes now. Let the story settle in your heart. Let yourself believe that love like this is possible, the kind that starts in silence and grows into forever. Rest now. Dream of early mornings and shared glances and the courage it takes to fall. And know that somewhere in a quiet office or a busy street or any ordinary place, someone might be looking at you the way Daniel looked at Maya, with wonder, with hope, with love. Sleep well. Tomorrow is full of quiet possibilities. The end.